If you listen to last week's podcast, you have heard me say that there is a high likelihood that I will be returning to the workforce. With this information in mind, the question becomes, how do I maintain this level of output while also holding a 40+ hour a week client? I can do what I've done in the past and treat it like 2 jobs and work myself to death, or I can put my trust and faith into other people and outsource some of the things that I'm doing, paired with using software to automate as much of what I'm already doing as possible. In this video, it's mainly an introduction to outsourcing, things that I plan to do or plan to outsource, and then in following videos, it's going to be executing on that. The first thing to understand is that there are 3 primary tasks when it comes to outsourcing. The first is the low-level tasks. These are inexpensive things that are working inside of the business. And what I mean by that is basic tasks that keep the business running. Emails, DMs, administrative tasks, customer service, things like that. The next level are tasks to improve your business. These are tasks that involve refining the process, or maybe an updated logo design, updating websites. This is the next tier up. And then the third tier and the highest tier is tasks that are going to grow your business that you can outsource. This goes in order from least expensive to most expensive. Now let's start with the podcast. In pre-production, there's a repeating task of outreaching to guests. I would consider this in the bottom level. This is something that I consistently do to keep things running, but it also has potential to scale if you contact the right people. I have a big list of potential guests that I've hand selected, but it takes time to write a handcrafted message to each of them. 100% of this can be outsourced. Additionally, it takes time going back and forth with a potential guest. They have questions. Big guests often have forms asking about what my podcast is all about, and it takes time filling those out as well. I've automated this as much as I can with a template message that I start with, and then I go in, personalize, and customize to the specific person. This is definitely a task where I should not be the bottleneck of. When times get busy, this often falls to the wayside, and it puts a pretty big stressor on the podcast because it's like, who are we going to interview this week? Who am I talking to? And then it's harder for me to get ahead. The next thing is something that I think makes the podcast great. It's its depth of research. Now, I would be hesitant to give this task up. However, it's taking up 12 to 20 hours of my time for every single episode, and that is just too much. If I wanted to take this task a step further, I would say have them do the research and also craft a question list. Having the outreach done, the research done, and the question list done would pretty much eliminate me for the entire pre-production process. In post-production, a script for the intro, mid-roll, and outro all need to be written so that I can record it, and this 110% could be automated. There's already a formula that I follow. It's pretty much pulling the bio from the research that I've done, finding a riddle. The ads are essentially the same, but I tweak them to stay interesting. But overall, it's pretty plug and play. Next is podcast editing, and this is probably going to be the most expensive task involved. However, it would save quite a bit of time. The concern here for me would be whoever controls the edit controls the story. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but editors know that we all have our unique style. We all have a unique style of telling stories, how we edit videos, how we edit audio that has an influence on the story that's told. Grant already does the audio engineering, so we're good there. And then posting the podcast, the administrative task of taking the audio, downloading it from where we store it, uploading it to our hosting platform, writing the description with the affiliate links and all of the promotional links from the guests and all of those things, I would happily outsource as well. If I outsourced all of that, that could potentially save me easily between 20 to 30 hours a week, easily. How much would it cost me? We'll find out. Additionally, I think having a virtual assistant for this task could even grow this further with a few additional tasks, such as the majority of the big podcasters out there, they often tie their episodes with a blog post. So when somebody searches for a specific thing, the blog post will come up, the episode will come up, they can listen to the episode online, or they can read through it and they can read through the transcript. I think that is a wonderful thing. Additionally, I think cutting up content from the podcast, which we'll talk more about that later, could be really beneficial if it can be done at a higher level than what I'm currently doing. Next is YouTube videos. Now, in the past few videos, I haven't been scripting. I've been going off the dome, showing off my dazzling personality, but for topics that have more at stake, like investing or finance or anything that is direct information and borderline advice, I use it loosely for liability reasons, but all of those are scripted. For the videos that I don't script, I outline. However, scripting a YouTube video could be a great way to get ahead, because oftentimes I have the idea and then it takes a while for them to get executed because of the bottleneck of being able to write only so many scripts. The fear there is it would take time to train someone with my dry sense of humor to write those things in. And more importantly than script writing is the editing. The YouTube editing takes much more time, and I think you can probably see as the past few videos in comparison to older videos, the editing is much more minimal, and that's to save time. But even then, it does take hours. And the reason this is a bottleneck is because I have countless videos that I've recorded that are sitting on my computer or my hard drive that haven't been made simply because I haven't been able to sit down and edit them or find the time to edit them. This, I also would imagine, would be a costly outsource, but it could potentially be worth it to stay consistent. I also once attended a conference or speech from Mr. Beast, and he talked about how he edited his first 800, but as soon as he had enough cheddar and other responsibilities, he began outsourcing as well. And I'm nowhere near 50 million subscribers, but in my mind I am. So might as well start outsourcing now to get that locked in. The next one is social media content, posting regularly. I have to say, I'm exhausted. I am purely exhausted from banging out posts every single day. It's driving me to burnout. However, if I could disperse this effort among VAs, that would be incredibly helpful. The reason that would be helpful is because I do produce a lot of content. I produce YouTube videos and podcasts and other reels in audio and video format, so it's difficult for me to go through and chop them all up into reusable content, which it could easily, but it's a roadblock because I'm only one man. And for example, for an Instagram reel where it's covering my podcast, like a guest conversation to be thrown up on Instagram, it usually takes me a little over an hour to put those together and toss it up. And I don't do a wonderful job of time batching like I should, but I understand the importance of posting consistently, so that would save me about an hour each day. And I think somebody else would do a better job of mass producing those things if they just had the content, they cut it up, said here's 7 reels for the week or 21 reels for the week would be more desirable. Then it would be done, and that would save me a lot of time and a lot of headache and maybe a lot of bitterness that I have toward the internet right now. And the next task, and this is where I plan on starting, it's a very low level task, however it's a very important task, and it's a task that requires a lot of trust, is administrative tasks. I'm talking DMs, I'm talking emails, I'm talking even text messages, and I'm talking Fiverr messages. I don't know if that's against the terms of service yet. I'll need to figure that out, but I'd love to outsource. Imagine if your Fiverr business, you just showed up when somebody ordered something and you didn't go back and forth between the hassle of all of the lowballers or the people that want to negotiate. You just say, hey, VA, you can have the authority to negotiate up to $5 to $10 high or low, and have at it. Let me know when they order. I'll come in, fulfill the order. That's it. You get paid, and I don't have to deal with all of these headache people. DMs and emails. I don't get very many emails. I send a handful of emails each week, repeated ones, just sending it to the podcast guests saying here are the links and here's everything you need, and taking care of whatever requests they have, but it takes time. DMs are intimidating to me because it can easily get overwhelming. One Instagram story can result in 5 to 10 to 20 responses, and suddenly I feel obligated to respond to 20 messages within the next 15 minutes, or I'm a bad person. If I could outsource that, that would save my noggin more than anything. And it could provide a potential to grow, because if I do it correctly, I can turn DMs into sales. Have a sales funnel that starts with a Instagram story response. Of course, providing value and not seeing everybody as a conversion, but it definitely would help, especially for a small business like myself. Next tasks are marketing tasks. And a roadblock that I hit when I was marketing for the course is it's suggested to have at least a minimum of 3 to 5 landing pages, but those that do the best are websites that have 40 to 50 to 90 landing pages, all with different messages for different groups of people, so that your product can convert more often. And that's just a very difficult task to do as a single person. Additionally, I found that writing ad scripts, like writing a script for an ad, became repetitive. Editing the ads became repetitive and time consuming quickly, and not all of them ended up being used, which was unfortunate and felt like a time suck. And lastly, I think even ads being recorded of your product can be outsourced, and I would love to do that as well. I was the spokesperson for my course on all digital ads across the board, and I have the skill set to do so I enjoy doing it. However, imagine if I made ads and 5 other people made digital ads, and I could output 20 times more digital content around my same product if I only outsourced a little bit more. I don't have to completely stop these things if they're valuable. However, a marketing task like that has a tremendous upswing for growth. A lot of the times, there's a bottleneck in my ability to analyze a current campaign in digital ads, because there's other tasks that are more pressing that I don't get to. However, if I don't get to the analysis of the digital ads, it ends up costing me more money. Outsourcing that could be a great tool once again, but that seems something that would be not too far ahead, but further than experimenting with just low-level tasks right now. Website updates would be a tremendous outsourcing task, mainly because it's simple updates outside of redesigning the look, brand, and feel of things, which I could definitely use. Another thing is, with these courses that I'm producing, I can only produce a course as fast as I can write the scripts. I'm writing a lot of scripts, if you haven't been able to tell, but it takes time to research the topics, of course, have to show that I'm factually correct with what I'm talking about, because I am not going to make an outline for a course that somebody paid for. It's going to be the best information you can get. I think even proofreading course scripts, outsourcing course scripts and proofreading them myself, the PowerPoints for each of the courses takes so much time, and that can easily be outsourced. And once again, the editing of each videos is something that can be outsourced. As long as I'm able to make the content, there's no reason for me to painstakingly take a lot of time to edit a course when I could just get the information out sooner. The last thing in here is book writing. I've had writing the Bird Life book on my to-do list for years now. I have 2 chapters done. However, there are companies that will interview you and then write the book for you in your tone and cadence with your humor, because they get to know you through these interviews, and then you can come in and revise it with your own tweaks and special things, or you can simply publish it as is, which is what a lot of the big dogs do. I wouldn't feel super comfortable with that. However, I'm more inclined now to go through the process of being interviewed about the story, have the story being written, and going in and making alterations, because it feels like a better route to have a book be completed than always wish you were writing your book and then you don't ever complete it. That is probably among one of the most expensive things that I could do, and I don't have any plans on doing that soon. However, I am open to it. Now the question becomes, how am I going to go about this? I think, of course, you start with one hire, someone new, train them to the best of your ability, build some trust, build some team culture, and then continue to delegate these tasks from there. After the first VA is trained, I would like to hire 3 to 4 to have a team that can hold each other accountable, create a culture, and not be solely dependent on a single VA. If somebody gets sick, if somebody slacks, if I hired the wrong person, I shouldn't be, once again, bottlenecked to a single VA. Now, here are the websites that I'm considering: Fiverr, Upwork, freeup.net, which I've hired an editor on before and I was very happy with them. Man in India, freelancer.com, guru.com, asksunday.com, brickworkindia.com, taskseveryday.com, and then onlinejobs.com, Contra, all of those freelancing sites that we come to know and love. I think outsourcing is potentially a win-win for all involved. There's power in providing jobs for people and providing work for individuals, building and using the leverage of other people's skills, because we're not always the smartest person in the room, and we also only have 24 hours in a day, so it's best to start delegating tasks now. This provides us an opportunity to treat people well and build a business culture that we wish we always had. That's it for this week's video, just simply talking about outsourcing, and this is episode 1 of hopefully going down the line and outsourcing as much of my life as possible to get the largest return and reclaim time in my own life. I hope you enjoyed this video, liked this video, and be sure to comment things you would like to see as an episodic series in the future. Love you, stay safe, you got purpose, and I'll see you next time.